Hi, Les.
Jonathan, how are you?
This is a big, we're virgins at this, aren't we?
Yes,
this is a
very
big
true.
premiere for us. So, just to let everybody know what's going on, so this is a Facebook chat between two old friends and colleagues who respect each other enormously. I hope at least in one direction.
I am not worthy.
And so here we're in Vancouver Opera, so the Michael and O'Brien Opera Centre, which is just next to the Martha Lou Henry Rehearsal Hall. And we're actually in the library, and around is a wonderful donation from another sponsor, donator, guardian of ours. That's Regina Boxer, and she's donated her collection of old LPs and everything else and books. It's fantastic. We're very lucky to have these people who invest so heavily in what we do, because without them we wouldn't be able to do it. So thank you to all the donors and sponsors out there who make our lives possible.
Hear, hear.
And so, yeah, let's talk a little bit about what we're doing and how we do it and everything else. So, Les is conducting Darlington and Dala. How's it going?
It's going fine. We had 6 hours of rehearsal today, and for the first time had absolutely everybody in the room.
Oh, wonderful.
All the principals, the small chorus that we have, and the supers. So we were working on all the scenes that involve them.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of choreography, so that's always fun to see singers doing that sort of thing. And we had to do a few times, but it's really fun. And I found this piece I find just so joyous and joyful and infectious. There's the rhythm in this is unflagging. It's, and in all of those ensembles, it's incredible to me actually just how much ingenuity there is in a piece that he wrote so quickly. I mean, obviously, in terms of the structure that he must have had in his head, things have to roll out according to plan, but there are all these little tweaks, these wonderful surprises, little corners.
It's amazing. Just the other day, was it yesterday?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I know, it feels like a long time ago.
And I hadn't done it in a long time, and it was so wonderful to hear it again. And as you say, he wrote it so fast. 18 days or something.
I think what I've read is 24.
24. Oh, I know, because I'm in Clemenza. Mozart's Clemenza, his last opera. He wrote that in 18 days. But he didn't do all the rest.
Nor did Rossini. There's something there. One of the funny stories I remember, I was last year when you conducted L'Elisir d'Amore, I gave a little talk to the staff, and I found this quote that apparently somebody had, one of Rossini and Donizetti's mutual friends, went to Rossini and marveled at the fact that Donizetti had written L'Elisir in whatever it was 3 or 4 weeks, and Rossini just looked at it and said quite dryly, because naturally he's always been so lazy. So I mean, when you think about the speed at which these guys were turning out these pieces, it's simply astonishing.
Just to actually write away notes down, they wouldn't have time for Facebook.
That's very true. Hello, all you people. If you want to write an opera, stop watching it.
Exactly.
There's no time for that.
But it's I'm sure you know this, but after William Tell, when he wrote that, he was going to write a Faust, or he was thinking of writing Faust.
Okay.
Because I was thinking, Bruno and Rossini, how much do they know each other? And he was thinking of writing Faust, and then he began to get really sick, and so he went back to Italy, and came back to France later. But he was thinking of
that's
writing
kind of
Faust.
amazing. I mean, because Faust was the seminal, like in the 19th century, it obsessed everybody, right? Liszt, Berlioz, Wagner.
Everybody.
And of course, Liszt, I don't mean to put in a plug for, my Hungarian hero, but truly, I mean, he was a friend to both Rossini and Gounod.
Yeah.
And would have socialized with them, and I actually did not know that Rossini.
I'd love to have been at those soirees.
Oh my God!
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Unbelievable.
Because there's Rossini when he came back to Paris after because he got sick and he went to. Did he have gonorrhea? I think he did. Isn't
or syphilis or something.
I think it was. Yeah, I'm not quite sure if it was
okay.
between gonorrhea and syphilis, but I think he got one of those, like Schumann, Gilbert, all these other composers.
Donizetti died in an asylum.
And he died in an asylum just down the road from where I live.
Oh my God!
Yeah. And it's the same asylum that James Joyce's daughter, who was called Lucia.
Oh, you're kidding?
Yeah, she was incarcerated in the same mental institution, which is just down the road from where I live.
What is it now? Is it?
It's still a hospital.
It is.
But it's not.
It is.
It's not not a mental institution.
Okay.
But yeah, and
Wow.
so I remember saying to, I can't remember who it was who came and sang Lucia. Who was it?
Elise
Yeah,
Gutierrez.
and her daughter. She named her daughter
that's
Lucia.
right.
I made a faux pas. They're saying to her, "Watch out, because you're James Joyce's daughter." She thought,
What's in a name?
Yeah, exactly. Why did we get onto that? Oh, it's because of the Donizetti, all the composers who contracted the venereal disease of one sort or another. But so Rossini, when he came back to Paris in, what was it, 1855?
That sounds about right,
with his then bride, or lamp, whatever her name was, they had these soirees, and Gounod actually took part in those. I'd love to have done that. I mean, can you imagine when Gounod went to, he got the Prix de Rome, so when he went to Rome, and he took part in Ingres' soirees, because Ingres was, the painter was at the kind of kingpin there, where he met Fanny Mendelssohn, who then introduced him to Mendelssohn. I mean, it would have been wonderful.
Yeah.
I'd love to go back to it.
Yeah.
And all the soirees in Paris, everybody was there. So Rossini, Berlioz, Bizet, blah blah blah, and the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
And those soirees that Georges Sand had at her place out in Nantes. Have you ever been there?
I have not.
Oh, you must go, because there's the dining room that's set up with place names. So you have Delacroix, obviously Georges Sand, Chopin. They're place settings for Balzac, Turgenev.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was reading the other day the biography of Pauline Viardot.
Okay. Yes.
Who's this, for those people out Facebook, she was an incredible lady in the 19th century who was one of the daughters of Garcia, who was a famous singing teacher. She was the sister of Maria Mangrand, who was the most famous singer at the time. And this lady, Pauline Viardot, was a wonderful pianist. And she played duets and stuff with Liszt and Chopin and everybody else. And why am I talking about this? Can you tell me what I'm talking about?
Well, I'm not sure about the Viardot, but Viardot has an interesting connection too, because she's also a composer.
Yeah.
And she set Cendrillon as a salon opera, right?
Yeah.
And there's another connection there. And I think Chopin wrote some of the songs for her.
Yeah.
She's not a bad singer herself, right?
Yeah. Berlioz rewrote
that's right.
Orphée
Yes.
For her. And she helped Gounod at the beginning, and then they fell out. And Rossini, she knew him. It would have been wonderful to
kind of astonishing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm talking about Cenerentola being such a lighthearted and joyous and wonderful comic piece. It's hard to find something more contrasting than Gounod's Faust. It's not exactly,
Well, tell us about.
Perhaps you should tell our audience a little bit
about Gounod's Faust. Well, Gounod's Faust. They wrote it in 1859. The same year, 1859, Wagner finished Tristan. Verdi had the first performance in Ballon Masquerade.
Okay.
Darwin's Origin of the Species
that year.
came out in that year, 1859. It was quite a big year, really.
That's incredible.
Yeah. He wrote it in 1859. And originally there was no, it was spoken dialogue and melodrama,
Right.
and then arias and ensembles. And then 2 years later, because he rewrote it, he endlessly rewrote it for various countries and various theatres. And a couple of years later, it went to Nancy or somewhere like that. And that's when he wrote the recits. So the spoken dialogue was cut out.
Right.
And the recits. And actually, going through the piece, you can feel where the recits, the spoken dialogue would have been, and that you wrote the recits for. So it feels, in that way, you have to try and find a way to get over the clunks sometimes.
So not unlike Carmen, which
Exactly.
Right,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Although that time in Paris, there were 4 opera houses. It'd be rather nice, wouldn't it?
Wow.
Yeah.
With
With their own particular followings.
Right.
So you have the opera, of course. You have the Théâtre Italien, which Rossini made. Didn't he become head of that for a year or so?
I believe so, or at least honorary or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
When he wrote Comte Henri, Wasn't it that period?
That's quite possible.
So there were those two, and then there was the Théâtre Lyrique, for which Gounod wrote Faust, and there was the Opéra Comique, for which Bizet wrote Carmen and what.
Yeah.
Carmen was in 1875.
I mean,
I'm getting quite good on these days.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. Actually. You're an encyclopedia.
Yeah,
it's very impressive.
Yeah, I was looking at people who've been buried in Père Lachaise living in Paris. And there's some pretty impressive names. I don't know why I suddenly thought of that, it just came to my mind. This sort of thing, isn't it? We should have beers here, I think. Next time when we do this.
Yeah, because it creates different inspiration. Yeah. How true.
Yeah.
And you have a great cast for this
Oh, it's
show.
wonderful.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. So do you.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Ours have some up-and-coming,
Yeah.
exciting young talent, and particularly the two lead roles. And
Yeah.
I've known both of them since they were students, and first worked with them both in respectively UBC Opera.
When you say both
You
of
two,
you,
Simone McIntosh and
Yeah.
Charles C. who
Okay.
to our Cenerentola and our Prince Ramiro.
Yeah.
And for me, it's actually such a nice feeling to see when you work with people as students. It's hard to know how all bets are off as to how a career will pan out or not. But when you recognize talent, you think, boy, that person really deserves it. I hope it works out.
Yeah.
And they're both on such an upward spiral right now. And
That's
they're both
wonderful.
still in their mid-20s or something.
Oh,
So I know. That's different. I try not to think about so much, but.
Hi. Yeah, you got black hair there.
Well,
You got
more hair than I do.
Spring
So.
chicken. Oh, dear.
Hardly, but anyways, it's fun to see, and again in Canada, we're so far removed from the origin of most of these pieces, and yet Canada has produced so many great singers.
Oh, absolutely.
And
singers and musicians.
Yeah. Oh, well, absolutely, of course.
Yourself included.
Well,
I feel a sort of honorary Canadian, but I'm not really.
You are.
Well,
you first came here in 2001.
God, is it that long?
It's really not so difficult. It's
I bet it's 2001. Is that when 9/11 was?
Yeah.
That's right. I came just after that.
Yeah, and at that time I just accepted a position in France, so I wasn't here the very first time you were here. But I remember that everything, it seemed kind of upside down. It was a very strange time. I mean, it's a strange time now too, I guess in different ways, but
I can't really remember that.
Right.
Like a long time ago.
But that's a long time. That's a lot of shows. I mean,
that's
a lot of shows here than anybody in this almost 60-year history.
Last year I did try and add up the amount of shows or actually rehearsals I conducted in the QET and the shows that I'd done. And it was an awful lot.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah,
for sure.
But to come back to Cenerentola, because I've done it quite a lot, and you've done it quite a lot. So how do you feel when you're doing some of those ensembles, and when it can go so pear-shaped, so easily?
Right.
This is for the big audience out there, so this is conductor talk that we're kind of doing.
It's scary. You feel totally helpless.
Yeah.
Because in places of those ensembles, you're almost like you're supposed to be a human metronome, and you just lay something down and hope that everybody fits whatever rhythm they have, and whatever text, whether it's patter or something that has a little more space in it, just right down in the middle of that beat. And when that doesn't happen, it's true that your first instinct is like, oh, what do I do? And I think it's to just stay as calm as possible, to try and maybe even go smaller rather than bigger, and to just try and zone in with a kind of radar to whoever, or whether it's one individual or a section or that's getting out, to just bring them right back in. But we were talking about this yesterday. I mean, this kind of music is so razor thin and razor sharp that it's instantly discernible if something doesn't quite fit into the groove.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm also learning just, with certain things, I mean, you go in with an idea of tempos and things, and then with certain places you like to play and see, let's see where we can get this. But for sure yesterday, it was a lesson to me just how far I could take one place, and so I'm just kind of pulling things back. And today I felt, we rehearsed some of the same material over, and it just felt so much more solid. It just a tick lower. But all bets are off still in a show. You never know, no matter how rehearsed, right? As we all know, and it's kind of what's so great about live performance as well. I find that we're so obsessed with this very artificial notion of perfection, which doesn't even exist.
No.
But when people are weaned on recordings, you know, you go into a theater and you expect that, and well, you know, that's not what it is. And there's nothing wrong with the recording, but my God, when you have the human dimension and you've got the singers on stage and you know, the musicians in the pit, and you start, it's the most amazing thing to me. It's a kind of ritual that is so profound and so beautiful, and you just cannot compare it by putting on a. It's funny. I mean, these days the LPs are making a comeback.
Absolutely.
My 13-year-old son requested a phonograph for his birthday last week.
Oh, you told me.
So I got him one, and it's amazing to think that, you know, I remember getting rid of all of my LPs, and now they're worth a fortune. And, you know, and now, you know, people don't even have almost everything's digital.
Yeah.
And on the one hand, the convenience is staggering. It's amazing, and yet I feel that we invest less in, you know, even one or two pieces, because you know that it's limitless.
Yeah.
It's like a piano teacher of mine when I was studying, who is now in his late 80s, talked about the fact that when he was a student in Berlin, somebody would have the one copy of the Chopin mazurkas, and everybody was like, "Oh, can I borrow that for a few hours?" Yeah. And you know, now you go to IMSLP and you can get virtually the entire library. But do people do that? Do they still feel this as excited?
I don't know.
Do you know what I mean?
I really don't know.
The convenience sometimes,
I
I think, takes away from how unique and special one piece can be.
I did a chat on the radio the other day, this Saturday afternoon at the opera, and the recording, the piece I chose was Clemenza.
Okay.
So earlier I was thinking about, you know, how quickly he wrote it, so Ben Heppner was asking me why and all that sort of thing, and then the recording I chose was Johnny Gardner's stuff, and you know, a lot of it is done in studio, but apparently that recording is done live, but you still feel as if it's being done for a studio recording. There's this kind of sense of being incredibly careful, walking with eggshells. And I absolutely hate doing live recording. I mean, I hate doing studio recordings. And I'm always thinking of Glenn Gould, you know, who stopped doing live stuff and just did studio recording. I still cannot quite
imagine. It takes all kinds, right?
Why.
I mean, his famous phrase was he felt that live performance was like a circus act, and that people were always there to see something dangerous happen.
Well, I mean, there is that.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine that Franz Liszt and Paganini and people were, in a way, you know, they were showmen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So somehow, it's something that I think about a lot, though. And we do search for this perfection that, of course, you can never get, which is why we search for it.
Right.
And yet, in a recording studio, you know, when there's no audience there, you're just playing to the microphone. You're trying to create something which really music is there to be communicated with someone else.
Yeah.
So it's quite a strange process. I don't know if you've done many recordings,
but a few.
But it's I don't enjoy studio recordings at all.
No, and the way, you know, okay, let's get these first 30 bars down, and then you do
it's
the
so artificial.
You can never sort of tell the bigger story.
But I think there are more and more people trying to do live recording.
Absolutely.
You know, so going from one end to the other, because how do you get onto that? I'm losing it.
This is kind of fun. Hopefully we haven't offended anybody too much.
We haven't started
just
swearing.
chatting.
This isn't full of gin.
That's right. We're keeping it clean. Although it is after 5 o'clock on a Saturday, may I point out, even on the West Coast.
This is pure Vancouver water.
That's right, H2O.
H2O. What was I going to say? Talking about composers, and I'm going to come to the piece you're going to be doing soon. I'll tell us all about that. But I was just thinking of the Rossini and the Gounod thing, because both of them, I think I'm right in saying, were what one would consider today being bipolar. You know, with these incredible shifts of mood. And I know quite a few composers who do tend to go that way. I don't know what's your experience with.
You know, I don't know if you ever. I think you did study composition at one point. No, or did you ever write? I didn't try. Well, same here actually. For myself, it was more an exercise to just understand how to get into the nitty gritty of putting something together. But I knew even then in university that it wasn't my passion. I was always sort of self-censoring and thinking, oh my God, like there's Beethoven and Bach and Brahms and you name it. I prefer to spend my time getting to know as much of their great music rather than me just feeling like I'm playing in the playground, with limited tools. But and I also thought, my God, it's the loneliest profession in the world. It's like being a writer. You're inside your head all the time. And then I mean, these days people write on the computer or whatever, but you have the amount of solitude is crazy in terms of proportion. And what I love about what we do is that you can't do anything without other people.
No.
And it's that great thing of whether you're working with singers or instrumentalists, and the great thing about opera is you work with everybody, the stage directors, the people in the theatre. It's a real community. It's the best of times. that is true. But it's really, I mean, it's such a, there's really nothing quite like it. And the fact that, getting back to this thing of live performance and everything, we all have each other's backs because we invest in something that is so, it's so vulnerable. And so, again, at the best of times, we're there to support each other and really try and make something special happen. And we get to this treasure trove of works of art that,
we're very lucky, really.
We're so lucky,
we work on just, at least, we work on works of genius all the time, which there's no bottom to it. It's like being in a relationship with someone where you realise that you think you know, but actually there's a whole dimension to that person that you've never discovered. And when you really love that person, you discover more and more and more. And it's wonderful to know that there's even more to discover about this person. And all these pieces that we work on, this year, if I think of all the pieces I've worked on, I'm going to be working on, they are all, without exception, works of genius. I mean, what more could one want?
Yeah, it's true.
It's just, it's fabulous. And they tell us so much if you look for it. If you give enough, they'll give you even more back. The more you look into something like in Cenerentola or the Faust, the more you look for things, the more you get back, and it's incredibly enriching. I just wish that everybody knew about this.
Right.
There's do you know the violinist Miriam Fried? I'm sure you do. Yeah. She has this. It's her modus vivendi of believing that classical music is something that if everybody really knew about it, it would change society, it would change lives for the better. And I agree with her. That's our kind of inner passion that we have, that fire that's burning inside, which made us want to do this, and knowing that if only more people could get on board, then perhaps we could change things even more.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the message that, or the metaphors, if you like, inside Faust are there for everybody to see. How you use the use of power, whether it's sexual, whether it's financial, whether it's, the devil is obviously incarnate, but it's the way we look at all that and how you can tear people's lives apart simply by doing something which is so egotistical that, as in the case of Faust, that as a result, in the Goethe anyway, she, Margarita actually poisons her mother so she can sleep with Faust, and then kills her baby. All because Faust decides without the devil that he wants to have some fun. And that message is for all of us every single day of our lives. Every single gesture we make, every single sentence we pronounce to someone. I think we never really realise quite how profound that can be for that person who's on the receiving end. And so often it's just our ego, and as conductors we know all about ego, let's face it, our ego can get in the way and take us to places which can be very dangerous. In Cenerentola you get the same sort of thing happening, if you really want to get serious about it. Because they're all playing with each other.
That's true.
In every way, even Cenerentola herself, in a way, is playing with stuff.
Yeah.
But certainly all the others are manipulating, they're creating havoc.
Yeah.
And that's why Rossini's music is so. There's all those ensembles. They're incredibly perfect and precise. But out of that, you see this raging chaos that's going on.
That's true.
It's phenomenal. I don't want to talk about that. I don't know why I'm talking about anything. Really. It's just I'm enjoying myself. It's having a good time.
Hopefully our viewers are too. Hopefully we haven't lost it.
Yeah, we haven't lost it. I don't know. But anyway, tell me about the new piece you're conducting,
Yes.
Brian Curran's piece.
River of Light.
Yeah.
It's a large-scale work for chorus, soloists, and orchestra. I'm delighted that our two soloists are alumni of the Yolanda and Ferris program
Mm-hmm.
that we have here, Caitlin Wood soprano.
Oh yeah, that's because Mo and Yolanda Ferris give so much money to the Young Artists program, of which you are the kind of musical kingpin, as it were.
I like that. I'm going to change that in my bio. Musical kingpin sounds so much better. I feel like an arch villain, Lex Luthor. But it's, I think this is our 7th year of the program, and we've...
Is it 7 already?
Yeah, I believe so. It's 2012
Whoa.
started, so it's, it's a bit crazy.
Yeah.
Time goes, and we've had some wonderful young singers who this has been a springboard for some things. So anyways, I'm delighted that they are our soloists. I'm a big fan of Brian Curran's work.
Yeah.
I first met him back in 2004, and I had been asked to conduct a workshop of a piece that he had just finished writing called Airline Icarus. It's a chamber opera. And it was actually commissioned by a company here in Vancouver originally. And it was several years before the piece finally got a proper production. But this was the workshop phase, and I remember thinking, wow, this is a really interesting piece, and he does some very unusual things, and he really, it was one of the nicest people I've ever met, and so he was part of that workshop, and we really got on well, and I thought, I'd love to, I hope I get more chances to work with him. And a few years ago, back I think it was 2013, I went on a very short tour to Beijing and Taiwan, and we did the concert in Toronto, and it featured one of Brian's pieces, instrumental work. So anyways, the following year I was back in Toronto, and Brian and I had coffee, and I'd just been a couple of years into my tenure with the Vancouver Bach Choir. And I said to him, look, I have this new position, and you've written like symphonic works, you've written chamber opera, you've written all of this instrumental chamber music and stuff. Are you interested in writing like a big scale oratorio like a piece? And he was like, yeah, he said, let me think about that. But so it started from a conversation over coffee, and then within a week or so he wrote me back a really detailed email saying, I think I've got the idea for it. And he talked about this River of Light is a quote from Dante's Paradiso, and with the vision of heaven, that everything was like gold and light. And he talked about the fact that as he was researching, that vision is something that exists in most of the major world religions. And so he started looking at all of them, and he engaged 7 different Canadian poets from various backgrounds, whether they're Islamic or Christian or Judaism. There's an indigenous movement, secularism, Chinese philosophy. There's a little bit of everything, which is kind of amazing. And all of these texts refer to this River of Light. And so the piece, like I said, that conversation took place 5 years ago, and we were originally intending to have it premiered 2 years ago, and then Brian was commissioned to write this chamber opera, Missing, which happened here in Vancouver. City Opera Vancouver put it on, and it was a piece about the disappearance of several Indigenous people in particular along the Highway of Tears in northern BC. So he wrote me and he said, I really have to put this on hold. And I remember going to see Missing, and it was a very powerful piece. And I thought, is this ever going to happen? And then, some structural things kind of changed with the choir as well. And then when the festival was launched, I thought, I wonder if the opera might be willing to partner with us. And so we had some meetings with Ken Gaynor and Tom Wright, and they were both excited about the project. And so I'm just thrilled that this is going to happen. It's, I think, a really unique work. I find Brian has a kind of pluralistic approach to music, so I find too that he's influenced by that kind of French spectral writing, which I love a lot. It's such a rich way of writing. For the choir, there are a lot of things that people have never had to do with the piece. So that's been interesting, getting him to just open up and understand these kind of extended techniques. His music tends to be very virtuosic, so I'm sure that you've conducted. That's right.
Yeah. I did. He wrote a piece for the National Youth Orchestra of Canada. I've done 3 tours with them. This was the first tour, so it was a few years ago now, and we recorded it as well. It's a beautiful piece. It really is. And you said what you're saying about this French feel in there.
Yeah.
There is, and the writing is virtuosic.
Yeah.
But in a very in a French way. I've done a lot of a certain German contemporary composers, and their writing often is very virtuosic, but in a very German way.
Right.
It's a completely different different thing. But Brian's stuff is wonderfully virtuosic and explores territories, and he goes for it.
Yeah.
Which I admire.
Yeah.
I enjoyed working on the piece that we did. I've never listened to the recording. I wanted to dig it out. We did that in Shostakovich 15.
Oh, right, okay.
No. It's the Rosenkavalier Suite.
Okay.
And something else.
Okay. Yeah.
But on the same recording.
All right.
But it's wonderful. You've got a good cast, and you've got and our great opera orchestras playing.
Yes.
It's a hard festival for them because Cenerentola, Faust, and River of Light
all in 1 week, several performances.
That's tough.
It's very challenging.
But it was 2 years ago. When was it? First festival we did. Where
that's right. There were 3 main stage shows.
Dead Man Walking, Othello, Figaro.
Yeah.
That's probably even tougher. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But no, it's great.
Yeah,
it's great.
I must say the other thing that really, I feel like the timing, the karma worked out in this case, because it couldn't be a more perfect fit for the theme of the festival, which is legends, fairy tales, mythology, and also once everybody had come on board to present this, then we learned in December that Brian was awarded the Jules Léger Prize by the Canada Council.
Oh yes.
And so again, it was just this great, and I believe there's a representative from the Canada Council who will make the presentation of the award to him at the beginning of that performance.
Oh, it's wonderful.
So I just feel like it's such an honor, and it all worked out so beautifully.
Yeah. But is there any other of his stuff that's being performed? There is in the chamber music series.
That's right. We have a little series that happens over at the CDC in Studio 700, and there will be 6 performances in total. 6 different recitals. One of them features all of our current Yolanda and Ferris singers. One of them features the Bergman piano duo. Yeah. Of course, Marcel wrote Requiem for a Lost Girl last year, and
conducted it.
That's right. Yes. And we talked about the theme of the festival. I remember over drinks in 5 minutes, we came up with the perfect program, which will be Ravel's Mother Goose Suite, and the Liszt Mephisto Waltz in the 2-piano version. And
which they do a lot.
Yeah. And also, again, ironically, just a few years ago, Marcel was commissioned by an individual in San Francisco where there's a festival for 2 pianos. To write a fantasy on themes from Rossini's La Cenerentola.
Oh, I think he told me
so it's
that.
kind of again perfect. So
that's with Elizabeth as well.
That's right. Yeah. And they're just stupendous musicians and awesome human beings. So they're on a program. We have, of course, musicians from the orchestra taking part. Other singers who are part of both shows. You and I will play. We're going to play some 4 hands Dvorak Legends.
I'm looking forward to that. Practice like crazy. Yes. I wish we were doing more of them.
Yeah.
We're only going to do 3.
Well, it's okay, but this time.
It's a start, it's a little aperitif.
Yes,
totally.
Yeah.
No, it's, I'm looking forward to that.
One of the other programs, which I think is a huge draw, and she'll do it twice, is one of our former alumni of the Ferris program, is soprano Rachel Fenlon, who does a program, Fenlon, and she's going to play in the series George Crumb's Apparition, perform it at piano, and that's one of the most challenging things. There's a lot of the inside the piano. Yeah. She just did a promo video about it. She's recording the piece, and then she's doing also a show at the Fox Cabaret that night. So that's
great.
also great.
Yeah. She when I was in Dresden last time, or the time before, I can't remember. Because she lives in Berlin.
Yes.
And she said, "Oh, can I come and play through Frauen lieben Leben for you, the Schumann song cycle?" So I know she's doing it. It's difficult to play the piano and sing at the same time.
Yeah.
It's not so easy, and do both to a very high standard.
Yeah, absolutely. And yet, I mean, in a way, Schubert in those early salons would play and sing. And so it's not like, she didn't make this up.
Reynaldo Hahn.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You heard those things of him singing to his own accompaniment?
No.
Oh, there's some great ones out there. Yes.
Oh wow.
There's very tremulous French voice.
Oh, it must be delicious.
It's wonderful.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Talking of these old long playing records.
Oh wow. Yeah. And then the other thing I guess we should just touch on is of course Bach's initial competition.
The competition.
Yes.
So the singing competition. The candidates, I think you know some of them, but I don't know any, so I'm really going to enjoy this because it's going to be completely new territory for me. And so we've got a nice jury, and I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's a really good way to go. It's a show. Perhaps next time we'll be able to do it with the orchestra.
Yeah.
So it's just with piano at the moment, but and it's really good to give young singers a chance,
Absolutely.
Let's face it, the world out there is quite brutal.
Yeah.
And unless you have a chance to actually sing in public and in a competition, perhaps win a competition or something, it's difficult to get going.
It's so true. The exposure,
And I'm sure that the singers we've got are really
I think the council is very
certainly great.
Yeah.
With Kinza
Yes.
they're all playing the piano.
Playing the piano.
Who's our head rep, who's fantastic.
She's magnificent.
Yes, she is.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, well, I don't know we could carry on talking for a long time. Perhaps people have got fed up with listening to us. But
this was so much fun. So I'm so glad you thought of this.
Yeah.
And thanks to Michael Mann
for
making this happen. And I hope everybody comes out to the festival. We have so many great events. The two main stage operas, Faust at the Queenie, Cenerentola at the Playhouse, the River of Light, which will happen at the Queenie, the Chamber Music Series, the Vox competition, and numerous events in and around the plaza all week. So mark your calendars, please come on out.
Enjoy. We'll be there.
Thank you so much for tuning in.
Yeah.